In Book 7 of the Republic, Plato represents or presents to us the allegory of the cave, whereby he suggests that we are all prisoners of this cave, and all we see are shadows presented to us by our captors and the fire behind us. And in this cave, we're unable to turn our heads around. All we see is the back wall of the cave. All we see are shadows that are casted upon by our captors and the fire that is behind us. And so for Plato, there's a suggestion that some individuals attain some level of understanding. And that level of understanding is that they are able to twist their heads around to some degree, escape within the cave to some degree, and see the sources of the shadows. So they attain some level of understanding. So they no longer live in the illusions of the shadows only, and they gain some level of understanding by seeing the sources of the shadows. But also, there are other individuals that escape the cave altogether. And when you escape the cave altogether, you're able to see the daylight, and you're able to see, more importantly, the sun, which is a metaphorical representation of good and truth and reality. And so this is the ultimate goal in accordance with Plato, is that one is ought to escape the cave altogether. The question becomes, how does one do that? To help delve into this question, perhaps not answer it completely, but to begin to delve into this question, we have to look at Plato's thesis of the Rome of becoming and the Rome of being. I'll discuss the Rome of being first. So the Rome of being is this place. I shouldn't say place, but the Rome of being is whereby there are things that are eternal, perfect, unchanging, non-transient. These are the things of the Rome of being. On the other hand, in the Rome of becoming, things are exactly the opposite. They are transient, they are changing, and this is the world of sense experience. So the Rome of being cannot be accessed in any easy fashion in accordance to Plato because of the unreliability of our senses and because of our limited intellect. So the question becomes, how do you access the Rome of being whereby you have the world of forms, whereby you have forms, these perfect, eternal, unchanging things? And so how does one escape the limitations of their senses and limited intellect, that is? That's the question that is naturally posed afterwards. Well, to look into this, we have to look into what the historical term Platonism meant. We have to look at Plato's thesis of the soul, an idea of the soul. Not just Plato's idea, but those who he engaged in dialogue with. So for Plato, the soul is this immortal entity, non-physical entity, that escapes death. And furthermore, the soul has occupied or has settled in the Rome of being prior to birth in accordance to Plato. And thus the soul knows things. It's just that it has forgotten those things as soon as it has entered into the human being's body. And so the soul has occupied the Rome of being. It knows the forms, but upon entering the body, it forgets everything. And so that's the thesis of Plato regarding the soul. And so the question becomes, this refers thus naturally and intuitively to what is termed the theory of recollection. The question becomes, how do you unforget things, and how do you recollect the things that the immortal soul once knew but yet forgotten upon entering the body? In the Meno dialogue, Socrates offers an example of some form of evidence that unforgetting and recollection can happen in the example of a young enslaved boy, whereby Socrates not instructs him but guides him through questioning. towards virtue and knowledge. And this is meant to showcase the nature by which the immortal soul of this young enslaved boy has been able to successfully unforget things that his immortal soul as once knew prior to birth. Another important dialogue to look into is that of Phaedo's dialogue. And in Phaedo's dialogue, concepts of the soul are further delved into. There are some justifications of the idea of the soul that are presented in the Phaedo dialogue, namely that the soul as a concept represents an eternal, unchanging, non-physical entity, similar to the realm of being. But these arguments are insufficient. And we only see an advanced theory of the soul in Plato's Republic, Book 4. So in Plato's Republic, Book 4, Plato advances this notion that the soul consists of three parts, and those three parts include reason, spirit, and appetite. Reason, in accordance to Plato, is the part of the soul that is responsible for rational inquiry. Spirit, on the other hand, is part of the soul that is responsible for emotions. And appetite is the part of the soul that is responsible for desires such as food and wine and sex and so forth and so on. And so these are the three. This is a more advanced theory of Plato found in Book 4 of the Republic. So in other modules, I'll be discussing the Meno dialogue and the Phaedo dialogue in more detail because they delve into these concepts, the concepts of, mainly the Meno dialogue delves into concepts of knowledge, virtue, and the concept of the soul. But also the Phaedo dialogue is one of the most important dialogues in the Republic, and I'll delve into that in future modules. What I wanted to share here is the idea of Platonism as the term historically meant, the concept of the soul by Plato, the realm of being and the realm of becoming, and how that connects with the allegory of the cave, namely that escaping the cave and seeing the sunlight is akin to entering the world of forms. And seeing reality as it is. So the world of forms contains this eternal, unchanging, non-transient things that represent reality. And so I'll delve into the Meno dialogue and the Phaedo dialogue in greater detail, as well as Book 4 of the Republic in future modules.